Coming up on this week's mashup, the John Jay Patriots remain undefeated thanks to the right leg of this guy. Arlington lights up the scoreboard with 26 points in the first quarter. Highland wins an overtime thriller over New Paltz, and Arlington kept knocking on Ketchum's door, but the Bishop was not letting them in. We've got the saves, the plays, and the sign language craze, with all the conversations you didn't hear.
Coach, I want to tell you that I called Tuesday and I spoke to the AD and the principal that I need a rocking chair in the end zone for when I get tired.
Nah, sir, we can put it out on the practice field.
The mashup is next. It was a great week of matchups and overtime thrillers. Hi, everyone. I'm Charlie Carnaccio with this week's mashup. We begin with an overtime thriller in soccer. The news had just come out prior to the game against Ketchum that Arlington was ranked number 2 in the nation for boys soccer. So Ketchum had even more of a reason to play tough in this one. And Ketchum's goalie, Jordan Bishop, made it as tough as it gets. Ketchum having the daunting task of playing Arlington right after their emotional and physical win against John Jay. But that wouldn't matter to Jordan Bishop. The Ketchum senior goalie was battle-tested throughout this contest and came up big at every turn. Some saves were spectacular, and others were superhuman. Pat Mogan shoots it hard off the back of Cody Long, but then perfectly lofted a ball off the inbounds, sails just over the reach of Bishop, and somewhere in that pile of jubilant mayhem is Pat Mogan, the game winner. And even though Mogan is somewhere at the bottom of the heap, the Arlington Admirals remain at the top of the heap in New York State with a 1-0 overtime win over Ketchum.
I mean, many people might think I wasn't shooting that, but if my friends know, that's like the type of shot I would take.
It was just a great shot. I could come up with it probably, but he couldn't have placed it any better. It was just right there, so.
Another overtime thriller came Friday night in New Paltz when the Huguenots took on rival Highland. Oh, it was the kind of game you would expect from these rivals, Highland and New Paltz. The Huskies scored first on a pass from Brandon Mack to Adam Cardella to take an early 7-0 lead in the first. But in the second quarter, New Paltz was knocking on the door. The handoff to Nick DeMarco. The ball comes loose, and Stephen Bronke comes up with it for the score. The extra point failed, so Highland led 7-6. Later in the quarter, Bronke looks to throw a screen to Karif LeBoy, and it's picked off by Highland just before the end of the second quarter. Highland takes a 14-6 lead into the locker room. Third quarter, New Paltz relies on the tough running of LeBoy. The shovel to LeBoy, and he busts his way into the end zone. It's 14-12. But New Paltz is going to make it interesting. Bronke lofts it up to Austin Hecking, and we're tied at 14. That's the way it would stay through the fourth quarter, and that meant we're going to overtime. Highland is up first, and on the second down, Mack sends it to Travis Marnell. Marnell just can't keep his hands on it, but no worries. Highland calls the same play on the other side of the field, and Ryan Mergette is there for the catch and the TD. Highland now just has to stop New Paltz on its set of downs. First and 10 from the 25, and watch out! The Husky defense can taste this one. Second down, Bronke with nowhere to turn. Third down, a screen to LeBoy, and oh boy, Highland is all over it. The Huguenots down to their final attempt. Bronke lost it towards the end zone, and Adam Cardella is there with the interception. Highland wins a thriller in New Paltz 2014 in overtime, and what a way to erase the memory of a heartbreaking loss to Rondout the week before.
Well, I'm sure glad things went a little better tonight, because I've been thinking about that game every single day, including all day today before I got here. I told my one assistant coach the only thing that's going to help me get that game out of my mind is to get back on the field and get into another football game.
A near overtime was in the making when John Jay and Clarkstown South met up in football and brought a sense of urgency into the second half after a very lackluster first half.
Nothing happened for both teams on the ground. Give credit to both defenses. In fact, the only scores on the board at halftime were field goals. One for each team, and this game was tied 3-3. Back to the action. Third quarter, Clarkstown South tries to throw. The Jays' defense is stifling. But someone must have said, hey, why don't we try and pass? So Jay does. And look what happens. Sean Casey, spin cycle, 40-yard gain, the most from scrimmage since the game began. So Ryan Schumacher says, give me more of that. And look at this. He finds Casey cutting across the middle all alone. John Jay scores in the third, and it's 10-3. But in the fourth quarter, here come the Rams. A couple of key receptions gets Clarkstown South within striking distance, and then they give it to their tough running back, Hassan Awater. The extra point ties it at 10 with just over 2 minutes in regulation. But if you like turning points of a game, here it is. The Rams look to pass, and Josh Barr comes up with it. And with the ball on the 30 and seconds remaining on the clock, head coach Tom O'Hare says, gotta go to Mo. Andrew Mosh has been spectacular kicking field goals this season, and this was the one that could keep John Jay undefeated. A 40-yarder if he made it. And here's his attempt. With plenty of room to spare, Andrew Mosh legs it through, and John Jay wins another close one, 13-10 the final.
These games have been awesome. I mean, we've been playing hard-nosed football. A lot of the teams we're playing are a lot tougher, but we're scrapping back, and my team puts me in a good position, and I try to finish for them.
Hold on, I'm just adding Andrew Mosh to my fantasy football team. We need a more consistent kicker.
Arlington coach Dom DiMattio's got plenty on his mind about tonight's game as the Arlington Admirals fight to achieve their first season goal of making it to the playoffs. So this was a must-win, and Arlington played like it. Hosting Mamaroneck, the Admirals wasted no time. On the second play from scrimmage, Brandon Tobin tells everyone what kind of night it's going to be. He lofts one up in traffic, and in the middle of that cluster is Garrett Jones for a TD reception. Arlington is up 7-0. But the Arlington defense was also about to let everyone know what kind of game this was going to be, and forces a fumble on Mamaroneck's first play from scrimmage. The great field position and the offensive line is all Tobin needs to barrel in for a 14-0 lead. But in case you forgot, the defense wanted to remind you that they too can score. And a timely hit by Austin Green, picked up by Mark Barbieri, makes it 26-0 Arlington, all in the first quarter. Second quarter, different direction, same results. Tobin on the keeper, goes off right tackle, then cuts across the grain. A 26-yarder, and Arlington takes a 33-0 lead into the locker room. And as Arlington shows what it's capable of when all three facets of the game are working: offense, defense, and special teams.
We came out here, we executed. We have a few mistakes, we got to clean up, but we played well.
The Beacon Bulldogs were hosting undefeated Sleepy Hollow. Brian Smith was there for that one.
Opening drive for the Bulldogs, Kyle Perusi proves a short pass can go a long way, connecting with Keyshawn Bell for a 54-yard touchdown. Bulldogs take a 6-0 lead. Sleepy Hollow would respond on their opening drive as Devin Lopez lunges in the end zone for a 2-yard score. Horsemen take a 7-6 lead. With less than a minute left in the first quarter, Hollow would tack on another touchdown when Devin Lopez finds Daniel Shavir for a 20-yard score, 14-6 Hollow. In the second half, Taurus Phelps becomes a Bulldog on leash, taking it 93 yards for the score. Fourth quarter, Kyle Perusi finds Taurus Phillips for a 10-yard touchdown. A 2-point conversion is no good. Hollow would still lead 27-26. On 4th and 4, Lopez finds Daniel Shavir in the corner of the end zone, a 14-yard touchdown pass with 1:29 remaining. That would send the Horsemen home winners on this October night, 39-26, the final.
And in girls soccer, the big rivalry game between John Jay and Ketchum turned out to be all John Jay. John Jay and the home whites shooting well outside the 18 and hoping for something to happen. Rachel Fricker tries to chip one. And then later on, Aaron Thyler loads up. But that one is just a can of corn. No punch, no spark. And you could tell Jay is playing tired. Meanwhile, Ketchum was trying to strike while the iron was hot and had their best chance here. Shannon LaPerche driving downfield, and with Jay's goalie out of the net, it looks tailor-made for Kim Quillis. But she just can't get there, and the game remains tied in the first half. Until Thyler gets the right club and distance on this chip. And just like that, John Jay takes a 1-0 lead that held up through halftime. In the second half, Jay came out quick, 93 seconds in, off the restart by Haley Toma. And the header by Corinne Burns, John Jay takes a 2-goal lead, and that's all they would need to put this one to bed. Up at the college level, the Marist Red Foxes found their way back home after a 2-week road trip to Georgetown and Dayton. Kendall Burke was on the scene.
A lot of excitement here today at Tenney Stadium as the Marist Red Foxes return home from a 2-week-long road trip to take on the Valparaiso Crusaders, and they're looking for some history to be made. Homecoming for the Red Foxes, and they didn't disappoint. Early in the first quarter, Marist Teek Lucas scored a 1-yard run. Following soon after was Marist Paul Sikowski on an 18-yard fumble recovery. This pass goes down in the history books as Chucky Looney becomes Marist's all-time leading passer. This pace continued into the second quarter as quarterback Chucky Looney threw a bomb of a 49-yard pass to Bartley Lenningham to score the third Marist touchdown of the game. Marist went on a 16-0 run, winning the game 37-0.
Other games include Haldane getting their first win of the season. Marlboro remains undefeated. Millbrook gets its best test to date with a come-from-behind win over O'Neill. And take a gander at Rondout Valley. Another win puts them at 4-1 on the season. So that will do it for this week's mashup, and we'll leave you with a little inside ear of what's going on with some of those conversations on the field. We'll see you next week.
All right, hold on. Coach, I want to tell you that I called Tuesday and I spoke to the AD and the principal that I need a rocking chair in the end zone for when I get tired.
Nah, sir, we can put it out on the practice field, but we can't put it here. The game's going on.
I don't
These
know.
kids
Where
will
am I
run right
supposed
into
to go?
it.
I'm getting tired and I need to sit down.
No, sir. We got your rocking chair. It's all set up for you up there. It's got the blanket and
All right,
everything.
hold
See
on.
it?
I can't talk to two people at once. And I'm going to just go up there and sit down for a while. I'll be right back.